You hear me okay? Yes? All right. Thank you so much, Markeisha. Appreciate you. All right. All right. And you can see me, right? I stopped sharing that other screen. I want to make sure we're all set. Perfect. Hey, Elizabeth. Markeisha, how are you again? Hi, Anna. Thank you all for coming. Happy Wednesday. We are here. We are here. And guess what? We're going to jump right in because I told you I'm not going to hold you. 1 second. Let's see. One moment. One moment. Um, all right. All right. Let's jump in. Let's jump in. You know what? Before I share the screen, we have let's see, based on who we have here, were any of you able to calculate your secure and steady number and your freedom number? Let's talk about that one. Anybody? Mhm. And you can unmute at this point since we're just getting started. Markeisha, I know you were here last night. Were you able to calculate your numbers? Need any support with that? Hi, Deandrea, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, no problem. No problem at all. Did anyone need any support with it before we jump in to this second day? Or you just weren't able to do it? I just want to make sure that we don't move forward and it's something that you can't actually work out because, again, it's an important one. You all right? Got you. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump in. I am going to pause though. I'm going to pause and check in with you all because I don't want to keep moving forward and we have not been able to confirm some numbers. So, because we're calculating numbers tonight, again, I don't want to keep moving forward without action being taken. All right. So, I'm definitely going to check in with you guys. All right. So, just be prepared to type and kind of go back and forth with me so I can make sure we're all on the same page and you have some real numbers. I asked you all last night just to bring some loose numbers from your program, enrollment, tuition rate, because we are calculating tonight. All right. So let me start sharing the screen and we're going to get started. Hmm. All right. Let's see. It's not here. Hmm? About 7:33. All right. Where is my page? Day two. That's what I want. Day two. Hmm. All right. You guys should be able to see it now. There we go. Let me wait for it to load. All right. Happy day two. We are here. There may be a couple people who didn't make it last night, so I'm not going to do everything I did last night, but I am going to make sure that you know what is happening tonight, what we're doing, who I am. And this is the Childcare CEO 3-day challenge, and we're on day two. So the whole goal of this challenge is to make sure that you can find the leaks in your business. I realize that a lot of times we're operating business, we're going, 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 but we don't realize that we're losing money every single day. So I want to have a conversation about where may we be losing money so that we can pause, take a look at our business, figure out where we may be losing, and plug the holes because we cannot afford to lose money. So I know I'm sharing my screen. Can you see me also? Yes. Okay. All right. All right. I want to make sure. Um, all right. So I'm Aaliyah Johnson Roberts, second generation childcare business owner. I actively have two sites where we serve 250 children each and every year. We are a multi seven figure business. It took time to get there, and don't let anyone tell you that once you get there, it makes things easier. When they say more money, more problems, that means you're responsible for a lot. Okay. So I never try to brag about it in a way that sounds like it happened overnight, that is easy. It takes strategy, it takes consistent looking at the business, it takes a lot of teamwork, it takes a lot. And that's why I have these challenges and I have these sessions so that I can just share with others what I have found. I just like community. I like working with people, and I don't want to leave anyone behind. So if there's one person I can help, and if we can have a community of childcare CEOs that become successful together based on what success means for you, then I am happy. Okay. So that is why I'm here. Day two is all about enrollment and revenue reboot. And let's jump in so that we can start figuring out what's going on in our businesses. So, what did we do yesterday? Here's what I talked about yesterday. This is where we left off. I shared with you the provider trap. I wanted to make sure that each of us was able to just pause and say, am I stuck somewhere? Because sometimes we are stuck being a childcare provider and we have not fully stepped into the CEO role. And the CEO, what I like to say, doesn't necessarily mean, right? A CEO is a CEO. I feel like sometimes when we hear or when we see on the signature the CEO of Walmart, the CEO, they are the CEO. And so just because we're in childcare, it doesn't make us any less important. It doesn't mean that we don't get to look at our numbers. It doesn't mean that we don't get to have profits. We are CEOs, and that takes a shift. Okay. So we tapped on the whole provider trap a little bit. I talked about CEO versus provider mindset because, again, they are two different things. Sometimes, as a provider, we lead with our heart only. And what I know is that as a CEO, Pico is in Philadelphia, that's in Pennsylvania. The electric company, the gas company, the mortgage lender, they don't care about heart, right? They're like, did you make your payment or not? It is all business. And so we still lead with heart. I love my children, my staff, my families, but I also know the business only runs based on the real numbers, and it runs based on revenue. Okay, and it runs based on profit. I'm not even saying having a 100% profit, but we have to be profitable in order to be sustainable and run our business. So we talked about that shift. What shifts do we need to make in our businesses so that we're no longer like scrambling, we're no longer struggling, um, we're running our businesses and it's smoother than ever. That's the goal. Then I shared with you two numbers that I kind of created. That's what I was just asking about. The freedom number. Actually, I'll start with the secure and steady number. That number says, how much money do I need to bring in each and every month in order to cover all business and personal overhead costs? That means if I can bring in this number, I don't if it's $50,000 for you, that means $50,000 in revenue covers all of my childcare business expenses, and it also covers my mortgage, my car payment, all the things that allows me to live and just live my life each day. It's covering the basics. That is the secure and steady number. Then I said, let's not stop there. Let's also think about the lives we desire to live. So that was our freedom number. What is the number that allows us not only to cover our basic expenses, but also allows us to dream a little bit and have a sense of freedom? Those two numbers are important to know because without them, I mean, how do we know if we are going to make all of the expenses that will allow us to run our business in July? Or to make our mortgage payment in July. We need to know how much money, knowing those numbers are extremely important. Okay. I know about my payroll we do twice per month. I already know the general number of what's required. So I know we can't make any less than that. We can't make any less than our rent payment, taxes, like all of that. I already know what the numbers are. And that's really, really important. Okay. And so that leads me to the numbers I asked you to bring tonight. Current enrollment, license capacity, average weekly rate, because I'm about to talk about the iron triangle and what that is. All right. So let me jump in. Let me see if I need to make I think Adrian, do I need to change to co-host, did you say? Or you're okay? Oh, okay. All right. I got you. There we go. All right. Co-host, please. Got you. All right, iron triangle. What is it? What does it mean? You see my little triangle over here? At each point, you'll see a label, and that's what I'm getting ready to talk to you about. The iron triangle is very specific to childcare business, and it says that in order to run our businesses smoothly, all three of these areas that I'm going to talk about needs to be a yes. All of these things need to be true in order for us to not only cover our expenses, but also to have a profit so that we can run our businesses. Let me tell you what they are. So, at the top of the triangle is enrollment. The question is, are your seats full? If you have a license capacity of 59, do you have 59 children enrolled? If it is a no, that lets us know, okay, we have some work to do in that area. Okay, so that's one point. Fully covered seats. The next one, if we go to the right, the bottom right, is collection. Are you collecting what's owed to you? If out of all the children that have a tuition or co-payment or whatever, if you are supposed to bring in $5,000 per week, how much are you collecting per week? Is it $5,000, meaning you're collecting 100% of the money owed to you? Or are you collecting 90% of what is owed to you? This is saying the way for you to cover all of your expenses and have a profit, you have to collect all of your money. By not doing so, you're leaving money on the table, and that's a money leak. I'm going to talk more about it. But right now, I want you to understand what the iron triangle is. The last one is rate. Are you charging enough? I always tell the story. I came into the childcare business 18 years ago. I'm learning from my mom, who's been in it for 45 years. She said, Listen, we charge whatever the state is going to pay us." I'm like, okay, makes sense. The state was reimbursing $185 per week. We charged that. I didn't understand the concept of cost of care. I didn't understand the concept of I need to understand how much it costs us to run the business so that we could at least charge that amount plus a little more to at least have a profit. We were just matching what the state paid. And if any of you have ever done that number, we all know that what the state reimburses us is not enough. We always say childcare does not get paid enough. I'm very clear on that. I hope you are too. They do not pay us what it costs for us to run our business. So that means if you are not charging enough, if you have not calculated how much it costs you to care for every infant, how much it costs to care for every toddler, pre-K child, school age child, then how do you know if you're charging the proper rate to cover your expenses? Okay. Again, if any of these are a no, that means we have work to do in that area, because that means we're leaking money wherever we said no. Okay. That is the iron triangle. Real simple. I'm not going to say it's extremely easy, but at least if there's a no anywhere, it tells you we need to tap into that space. Okay. So this is kind of what we're going to cover today, which is why I wanted you to bring what's your capacity versus enrollment. We're going to actually calculate your collection percentage. And then I can't fully do the breakdown of the true cost of care. That's a whole strategy that I teach. It's not enough time tonight, but we're kind of going to have a higher level thought just to figure out if you're charging enough. Okay. All right. So again, iron triangle. You know what? At first glance, let me at least check in with you. Just by me covering those three areas, where did you say no? Did you say no in one of these areas, maybe two, maybe three? You could type in the chat. I would say even right now, my smaller site is not 100% full. We've been working on that strategy for a little bit now. So I know that that's an area that we still work on, that I give my director responsibility to say, please tell me what you're going to do to get that enrollment up. All right, let's see what you have to say. Okay, DeAndrea, you have two areas. Okay, it's all about clarity. It gives us clarity. Who else? Where did you say no? One. Okay, one area, Markeisha. Got you. All right. Two. Okay. And again, I said this yesterday. I was supposed to open up with our safe space. I apologize. I do want you to know this is a safe space. So please do not feel uncomfortable with sharing. Do not feel like you're being judged. You are not. We want clarity before we get off this call. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's find out the example of the cost of empty seats. I like to give a couple of examples because sometimes people could think I'm just trying to throw out these big numbers and act like it's a big deal. These are real calculations, okay? And I actually broke this out so it can fit every type of provider. I have an example of what does it look like when we're under enrolled for a family program if you have a capacity of 12. A small program, maybe you have 30 slots, and maybe a mid-sized program that has 50 slots. Let's see. Now, as I'm going through this, I would love for you to just pull out your phone, pull out a calculator so that you could calculate your number specific to you. Okay. So let me tell you how to do it. Real simple. The cost of empty seats. Every single empty seat in your program, again, this isn't judgment and it's not saying you're not working towards filling them. We just need to know how much it's costing us for every seat that is not full. So I have at the top line, here's one example. If you have 10 seats that are not filled and your weekly rate is $285 per week, and say you operate 50 weeks out of the year, if we multiply each of those numbers, 10 times $285 per week times 50 weeks, that is an annual leak from being under enrolled $142,500 per year. Okay. If that feels like you're like, I don't have 10. Here's another example. 3 seats. And if you look at the bottom, it's a few examples. If you have 3 empty seats, and for example, you charge $220 per week, please fill in your real number. You have a $660 per week leak. And if we calculate that for the year, that's $33,000 that is leaking, that you are losing every year that you have these 3 open seats. If you have not already, type figure out your number. How many seats do you have empty? What is an average weekly rate? Now, you might have a different rate for each age group. I do as well. You can take an average, or maybe you know that you have infant spots open. What is your infant rate? multiply that by the number of operating weeks, and that tells you here's how much I'm losing by not having these seats filled. Why do we do it? Not for shame, but for clarity of how much is left on the table. I like to even share with my staff, like, listen, I understand you guys are happy. Maybe it feels a little less chaotic because you're not fully enrolled, but let me tell you how much it's costing us. Let me tell you how much money we're not able to bring in that may impact you guys later. So this is a team effort that we can put forth to try to talk to people we may know. Maybe you can share the flyers too. We can have a team effort to try to fill these spots because it impacts us as a business, but it also can impact you. I know I can't have a $142,000 leak every year. I cannot. So we have to start closing up the gap. But the only way we could close the gap up is if we know what that leak number is, if we know how much we're losing, we see how much is at stake, and we can say, wait a minute, let me put a little marketing strategy in place. I'm going to focus my energy here instead of whatever that other thing is we may spend a lot of time doing. We might have to pause on that and really focus in on enrollment. Okay. So that is how we look at the enrollment part of the iron triangle. Next one. I don't know why this is so. Here we go. Okay. Here's some other ways that we leak money. And this is still around enrollment and money. Okay. Here, this chart shows you example of a program that may have a $200,000 annual revenue. That's just one example. If you look at the bottom, remember that part of the iron triangle that said, are you collecting all of your money? 100% collection rate means you're collecting all the money owed to you. Every co-payment, I don't care if it's $5, every tuition payment, every subsidized payment, all the money that's owed to you for every child enrolled. If we look at this chart, this says for someone or a program that has a 99% collection rate, near perfect, they still have a $2,000 left on the table that they are not collecting. For a program that has a 95% collection, that sounds great, right? It sounds pretty high, but they're leaving $10,000 on the table. 90% collection rate, they're missing out on $20,000, and 85% collection rate, that's in the red. That's $30,000 that is not being collected. So you can be fully enrolled and still lose thousands of dollars every single month. And here's a couple of examples of why that happens. And I always tell you, I give examples because I've done it. I've definitely been the nice provider. Okay. Oh, I'm just being nice. I understand. I understand. And we are understanding. But I also want us to understand that as we are being compassionate, we do lose money as a business owner. Okay. Late tuition. If we're not enforcing the tuition being paid on time, we typically lose an average of $620 per month per program. Depending on how much you charge, that might be two families, it may be three families that's not paying on time that we're losing that money for. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a lot, sometimes. But when you calculate the cost, it feels like too much. $620 per month, that's still a good amount of money. Okay. Informal payment arrangements, right? Have you ever had the family like, listen, something came up, I'm going to pay you Friday? I get so busy, I forgot about Friday. I don't remember that. But I think I'm going to remember Friday come. And have you ever been like, just thought about, did they ever pay? Now we remember like 3 weeks later, we look at the account and they still have not paid. Sometimes, sometimes we find out they are going to transfer and they're like, well, in my state, they'll say, this family wants to transfer their subsidy. Are they paid up? You go look at their account and you're like, you know what? They're not paid up. And our subsidized program is like, we don't pay anything past 1 week. So you lost out, basically. Okay. Another way is no written tuition policy. Families test whatever you'll accept. They're like, I'm just going to see how long she's going to say something. If she don't say anything, I'm not going to say anything. And so when we don't have a written and enforced tuition policy, we lose money. And I already mentioned the nice provider. So these are the ways that if we're not collecting every dollar owed, then that is how we lose that area on the iron triangle. We have to collect all of our money. Okay. Underpricing. That's the third triangle, triangle corner, because it said you need to be charging however much it costs to operate plus profit. And I understand, I know I always felt like we don't talk enough about profit in childcare. I think sometimes we just talk about revenue. Well, how much revenue do you generate? And so it sounds great. Oh my goodness. I thought it was amazing to be like, yes, we're a seven figure, we have a seven figure revenue. It sounds cute. That sounds cute. But what if we bring in $1 million? But what if we spend $1,015? Right? That it's not so cute anymore because we are not profitable at all. So, yes, we want to understand what our revenue is, but we also need to pay attention to profit. The only way we can profit is if we are charging our costs and a little bit above at minimum, right? I'm not on here saying make sure you have a 35% profit, right? If that's what your pricing allows, great. Okay. So let's talk about what underpricing does. I gave you the example that the state pays one amount. So here's an example of a program that may be underpriced at $220 per week. The example is they have 45 children and they operate 50 weeks out of the year. That means 2 weeks they're closed. Okay? When we multiply all of those numbers together, their revenue is $495,000 for the year, being underpriced. What do I mean by underpriced? If we did the exercise of calculating your true cost of care, that's what it means. How much does it cost to actually run the business? If the cost was $250 per week per child, but I'm charging $220 per week per child, I am underpriced. That means at some point that's going to catch up to me and I'm not going to be able to keep running this business. That's what that means. So the second example says, okay, but what about if you do the example I gave, which was you charge the market rate? That means $285 per week is what we charge. And that's what the market rate is, meaning the state has done their calculation and they say market rate is $285 per week. That's how much we're going to reimburse you. And if you charge that much, and hopefully at that point it covers your cost of care, it may not cover profit, maybe it does. This means your revenue is $641,000. Just look at the difference between the 495 and 641. And that is a difference of $65 per week. Okay. That's just here. These are examples of what the cost is when you're underpriced, and then what the cost is when you have market rate. This last one says, here's a program that calculated their actual costs and they realized that they are a high valued program. Let me give you an example. When I first started the business 18 years ago, we were not considered high quality in our state. So we did not have this surcharge. We started off, our tuition rates were lower. Over the years, we started doing a lot more work to increase our quality. That means we started having staff that had degrees. We started investing in curriculum. We started doing child observations. We started doing a lot of other things to say we are a high quality program. Once we did that, that means that we're spending more money doing additional things, right? It costs more money to have teachers with bachelor's degrees. It costs more money to have teachers with master's degrees, right? So the more we invest in different ways, when we got a curriculum for every classroom, that creative curriculum is a couple $1,000s. I had to buy one for every classroom. That's an investment. So that means I have to charge a difference because I am a high quality program. And so this is an example of someone who says we are value based. And so I have to charge more because of the value that we provide. Now the tuition rate is $325 per week. Do you see the difference in the revenue? The revenue is $731,000. These are examples. I'm not telling you what your tuition rate should be. What I'm saying is what's extremely important is to calculate what the cost of care for your program is and make sure that there's profit added into that so that you're making sure that you can be sustainable. Whatever that number is, you can then calculate it to figure out, well, what should my revenue be? Okay. Let me see. My computer is freezing. Okay. Do I have Oh, no problem. Okay. All right. Oh, I think I see somebody. There we go. Any questions on that? I don't want to just jump by it. Does that make sense? Everybody's okay? Let me see if I can see your faces. You all right? Yes? No question? Okay. All right. Okay. So what's other one of our biggest expenses? Oh my gosh. Staffing. Staffing is one, right? That's one of the biggest investments. All right. I shared a couple statistics yesterday, but replacing staff, right? If you realize now, I'm sure this is a lot of industries too. We start seeing a lot of turnover. If you start experiencing a lot of turnover, you may realize that you're starting to spend a lot more money. You're like, okay, now I have to recruit. I have to pay Zip Recruiter or Indeed. I have to put out ads and I have to do all of this stuff. I'm training people when they come on. I'm spending time with them. Whatever it is you do in your program, all of that costs money. And so you could be having some money leaks as it relates to staff as well. A couple of other things that's not on this slide that I know are money leaks are things like payroll time. I don't know if you've ever looked at time cards and you see a bunch of overtime. That right there, huge money leak. When you start to have staff who are there during hours that are not really busy. So I don't know how you guys staff in the morning or how you staff at the end of the day. Maybe you have 10 children at the beginning of the day, but you have 5 staff. That right there is a money leak when you start to look at ratio and you have staff there, they don't they don't really have anything to do. The responsibilities, they're just sitting. That's money leak. So sometimes we have to look at all of these areas in the operations of our business and say, what's not making sense? When I start walking through my center and everybody looks a little too idle, that's like a mental note. Like, all right, what's going on here? What is going on? And not that I don't want them to have downtime because I know they need to decompress. I'm not a slave master at all, but I'm very clear that my payroll is a lot of money. That's our highest expense. So to me, I need to make sure that there's productivity and that I'm making smart business decisions as it relates to staffing, their hours, their roles. Um, I realized after the pandemic, we expanded our admin team, special needs coordinator, assistant director. Um, we have an education specialist, an admin assistant. We have floaters, right? We have all these people. And at some point, I had to say, I think we need to tighten that up again because some of these positions may overlap and they may not make sense. I need to reduce my expenses. So that's another area where you may be leaking money. Just pause and take a look at where can I possibly reduce my expenses as it relates to staffing. Another one sometimes I think we don't think about is some things that marketing. I'll just leave it at that, marketing. I remember for years, I just was not, I didn't have a marketing budget at all. I was like, we have great referrals. Families refer us all the time. That's free. But I don't know, back then, we also didn't have as much demand. We also didn't have as many childcare programs in the area. Some streets have two or three childcare programs on one block. So there's a lot of competition. And so now we have to be really smart about marketing. So I call this a money leak because we may be missing out on opportunities if we are not constantly in front of families so that when it comes time for them to look for a childcare program, they're looking for you or they remember you. They've seen your social media posts so much that they're like, "Oh my goodness, I love what I see. They're always posting what they're doing. Now I'm interested in them. Either I'm having a baby, my sister is having a baby, or my grandchild, whatever the case may be. We always need to be marketing so that we are in front of people. Do we all know how much money they spend on those Super Bowl ads? Because they know how many people are watching. Millions of people are watching and they want to get in front of them. So we have to be mindful of having a marketing budget. Put it in our budget. That might be, I'm not saying how much, put something. I don't care if they are flyers, well, not just flyers, but the marketing ones that go door to door. So maybe you know that we just graduated 110 children. We have to have an enrollment push. So during that period, we may send out to the neighboring zip codes, we have openings, give us a call, come check us out. Okay. The next one where you may have a money leak is you don't have any brand differentiation, meaning families can't really explain the difference between you and the other people. They're just like, I mean, they're a little closer. They just happen to be the first people that called me and I went with them. They may choose you based on price or proximity. But when we give them more reasons of why they stay with us, even if we increase our price, they're like, but my kids really love it here. Or I really feel safe with my child there. Those type of things. We have families, not all, but for the most part, even if they move, they're like, I'm not changing them because their child and their family is set with us. And we constantly let them know, here's why you choose us. We're always working to improve. I just sent out a family survey today. If you guys don't do family surveys, definitely do it. They're free, they don't cost you anything, but they give you insight about what families love about you and maybe ways that you can improve. And they also realize that what they say matters and that you care. And so I just created it. You could create a Google form, you can create it Microsoft Forms and just send it out. I don't care if it's just a couple questions. We sent it out on Brightwill. I already started seeing responses coming in. They're also great. I'm going to screenshot some of them. They're like great testimonials. Here's things that people said, but I'm also going to listen to the things that they said matters or that we should improve on. Okay, not tracking what's actually working. For example, say you start doing some marketing. Say you put out flyers, or say you have an ad, and you're spending money on that marketing. Are we pausing to say, you know what? Did we get any enrollments based on that marketing effort? Because if we keep spending money, for example, here's another example. If we keep spending money on ZipRecruiter or Indeed, and we're never getting any great responses, we might need to shift something. Maybe we still want to post on Indeed or ZipRecruiter, but something I even thought about, I was like, I think I need to update the information on Indeed or ZipRecruiter. I think I need to freshen up the information I have out there that's going to prospective employees because it's a lot of people on there. So I don't want to have the same thing that I've been having on there for a year. Let's see what's working, what's not working. Let's stop doing that and change our strategy. That's a leak because we're just paying hundreds of dollars. I know ours is like $300 and just like those postings for employment, that's a lot of money. You figure by the end of the year, that's 3,000 something dollars that I'm just spending. And if I'm not paying attention to it, like that's just leaking money because it's not bringing me any return on investment. And the last one is inquiry response. If a family calls and they show interest, how quickly are you responding, if at all? If you are not responding quickly, the other program called them back and now they have a tour and now they most likely can close. That is a money leak because you lost the opportunity because you didn't respond fast enough. All it takes is just a call, right? 24 hours. Do you even have a policy or a procedure that says, you know what? Each time we get an inquiry online, a voicemail, is someone checking the voicemails or are they full? Or does your voicemail say the voicemail box is full? That right there is a huge money leak because we don't even know who may have called and whose call we missed. Okay. So, did any of you, of anything I said, do you feel like you have a marketing leak somehow? Whether you're not marketing at all, or any example that I gave, is marketing an area that you're going to pause and think about? Just drop it in the chat. I want to get a sense of where you feel like you are leaking money. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yep. Marketing is a thing. Again, I think that's an area we don't talk enough about. I do. I do. Marketing is important. All right. So you don't DRP had the revenue leak calculator. We're about to calculate your numbers. Don't worry. I have the we're just going to look right here. So here again is the iron triangle. Is there anyone who kind of want to work through their number? You can unmute and we can actually work on yours, all three of these, because we want to calculate our enrollment leak, our collection leak, and our rate gap. Because this will let you know your annual revenue, well, your annual revenue leak in all three of those areas. Anybody want to test it out? Don't forget, this is a safe space, so don't be nervous, but we want to make sure you actually walk away with your numbers. You guys are quiet tonight. Who wants to try? Somebody wants to try it out? Or did you even calculate your numbers and you want to drop it in? All right, you guys are not going to have me look at names and ask you. Okay, Dorothy, you're a licensed home. No problem. Sure. Uh, Markeisha did her number. She said, I got it. 90. Thank you, Markeisha. Got you. Is that in one particular area or is that total? Is that calculating all three or is that one area? And then Dorothy, you said your capacity is 10. Okay. Are you fully enrolled? And so I don't know if you caught the iron triangle. Are you fully enrolled? Are you collecting all of your money? And have you set your rates to make sure that they cover all of your expenses and have a profit? That is what we're making sure of today. Thank you so much, Markeisha, for sharing. Appreciate you. In enrollment. Okay. License for 60. Ah, can only hold 53. And that is it. I'm happy you brought that up. That is absolutely that is a real scenario that some of us experience. So really, you're licensed for that number, but really, it's nothing you can do beyond the 53, unless I don't know if this is an opportunity for you. Okay, got you. I got it. There we go. You have 43. You can have up to 53. Got it. Okay. Um, do you do before and after care at all? That's the only thing that popped into my mind. So here's why I'm asking. No, okay, got you. Here's why I'm asking, and I'll share it with anyone because it could apply to you. Um, we absolutely have full-time children. We are licensed for 198 at my one site. During the day, even though we're licensed for 198, based on all the classrooms, we can do up to 193. That is full time. But then Our pre-K children, they leave at 2:30. Then we have a whole group of school-age children coming too. So that is an opportunity for us to make more money without it being on top of the 193 all at the same time. So if you have a space, I don't know if this applies to you, but if you have a space or a time opportunity to take part-time children at a time when all the full-time children are there, it can be additional revenue. Some people do the evening care, right? They do some other things to bring in additional revenue without it impacting the full-time care that happens during the day. But I like to do it without having to work another shift. We are very clear that we have great opportunity, and in all honesty, we can refill our program between 2:45 and 6 o'clock. I can totally have another 150 children if we literally focused in on that. So that's just something to think about as an opportunity. All right. Markeisha, thank you so much for sharing. Before I go off of here, I just want to make sure that I am letting you know the three areas that you want to calculate. You want to see what the cost is for enrollment, multiply your empty seats, the number of empty seats times the rate times 50, and then your collection leak. What is your total revenue for the year? Multiply by your collection rate. That is basically one minus whatever your collection rate percentage is. So, for example, if your collection rate is 85% per week, one minus 85% is 0.15 or 15%. So, 15% times your total revenue is how much you are losing because you're not collecting all of your money. And the last one is, do you have a rate gap? This is just an example. I'm not saying charge the market rate. I just want you to know the number. Whatever the market rate is in your state, subtract your rate from it, see if it's under market rate or if it's over, awesome. Multiply that by enrollment, your number enrollment, and multiply that by 50. That will tell you if you're losing money for being underpriced. Okay. Okay. That is how you see uh if you how much money you're losing per year. Right. Let's see where your money's hiding. Just a couple more examples. We want to see maybe where else you may have some money leaking. Okay. You've already you've already earned this revenue, but you have not captured it yet, right? So we talked about the underpricing. We did that one already. Uncollected fees. Sometimes when I get to work with childcare owners or we really get to look at numbers, that's why I wanted you to bring your real numbers. It's one thing for me to give you examples, but I want you to be really clear, and I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I wanted to hit home like, oh, that's how much money, right? I give this example. This was a recent one. I was it's I paid my car off. My car is paid off now. I don't want another note, but I've been looking at. I love this car I've been seeing, and I just mentioned it to my husband, like, oh my gosh, I love them. He's like, you can get it. You could probably even pay for it with all the money you're spending on DoorDash. And I was like, I was a little taken aback, like, now wait a minute. Now. But what I did was I actually went to calculate how much money I was spending on DoorDash. My kids are Chick-fil-A kids. They want this. And sometimes the convenience of Door Dashing just it's just like, up, let me just order it real fast. So I went and calculated it and it hurt. It hurt my heart. I could lease the car. I'll say that. I could lease the car on how much I had spent that month that I looked. And I'm going to tell you what happened. It definitely set me straight because I was like, no, thank you. I didn't have a desire for all the DoorDash stuff that I had been spending on. I was like, my kids would be like, can we DoorDash? Mm-mm. No, we cannot. If I wanted it bad enough, I started going to the store. I'm like, if I really want it, we're jumping in the car and going. Or I didn't want it that bad because I counted the cost of how much I was actually spending on something like DoorDash. I was like, no, no, no. So it's the same concept, right? If we see the number, we get to say, you know what? I'm okay with that. Or we get to say, now I'm not okay with that at all. I need to do something about it. Again, I'm not speaking to, for example, some of us do have some enrollment needs. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. I'm not saying you're going to fill up like that. Everyone has different circumstances. I like to dig into what's happening to see if we've explored everything because sometimes it's just not easy. Some people are from states where their subsidy programs, they have funding frozen and they can't enroll subsidy families even though they have people waiting. So I understand their circumstances, but we just want to be clear about what's going on, okay? Subscriptions that you're not using. I don't know about you guys, but not too long ago, I had an annual auto pay hit. And I was like, I don't even use that. So in my inner circle, which is like my higher level program where we do one-on-one coaching and stuff, we sat there. One of our sessions, we were going to dig through bank statements. We need to find all the subscriptions that we're not using, all the subscriptions that we didn't even know was being taken out every month. What are the subscriptions that we're like, let me see if I can get a discount on that. I like to share with everyone. I'll never forget someone telling me all you have to do is call Brightwill and ask them for a discount and they'll consider. I did exactly that. I do have large numbers of children, but I was like, I've been with you guys for since the pandemic. I would like to request a discount. And at first, they tried to give me like 20% off. I was like, I think you can do better than that. And so we got a 50% discount in Brightwill just for asking. So I say that to say you could be saving money because all of this isn't just about revenue. It's also about how can I reduce my expenses? That's how we also increase profit. So take a look and see where you may be wasting money on subscriptions that you're not using. Okay. Unfilled flex slots. I gave an example. Actually, this could be an opportunity, really. And I gave the example of like extended care, early morning care. If that fits for you, that could be an opportunity to either lower costs or add additional money. And maybe premium service add-ons. Some people do additional things. We something else that we do to bring in revenue just to cover overhead. We have a large gross motor space. We have a full-size gym. We have space rental. We rent ours out for parties. These last 2 months, we've rented out every weekend. We had parties, baby showers, wedding. We just rent the space out for all kinds of stuff. So think of ways that money may be hidden. How can you reduce your expenses? How can you bring in more revenue? How can we plug the money leaks? Okay. Here's one more to do. List your top 5 expenses. Think about what your 5 top expenses are. Which one of them do you feel like you can reduce? And then let's pop it in the chat. Where can you reduce some of your expenses? I do know it's hard. I was about to say for me, I'm thinking staffing. That's really, really hard because the amount of money that people are asking for today is crazy. And not just that, we also provide benefits and stuff like that. So it is hard, but I am going to look at the admin team structure and see if I can reduce there. Has anyone identified an area where you can reduce one of your expenses? Something. Because again, we can talk about revenue all day, but how can you reduce expenses? Anyone have an idea? Food. Hey, Dr. Marilyn, how are you? Food, food, food. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That was another. I'm happy you brought that up. Not too long ago, I told you we have school age kids. I'm good, thank you. I told you we have school age children, and I noticed that. So there's a difference between the number of children enrolled and the number of children attending. And so what I noticed was they were preparing food for the enrolled school age children. Now we have some school age children who only come in the morning, they don't come in the afternoon. So please do not make food for all these children and they're not in attendance. That is a whole waste of money because now we have all this food at the end of the day that gets thrown away. Mm-mm. So thank you for that example. That's another way that you can think about how much money are we spending? Like, where's the waste? All right. So that was a perfect example. Thank you. I don't know why my computer is so slow. All right. These are just three things just to throw out there for you to think about. Make sure you put on a family filter, right? Not every family is a family for your program. This is just saying define who you serve, who you don't, and what makes your program the right fit for right families, right? That's a whole exercise I like to do because a lot of times when you have right fit families, they stay, they refer, right? Sometimes we don't want families who don't fit, and now there's friction and there's a headache. Make sure you have a clear call to action if you are posting on social media, if you have flyers, if you are marketing, what's the next step you want them to take? Tell them what you want them to do. Click here to inquire or click here to book a tour. Call for a tour. Um, if you want them to just type something, type enrollment and we'll contact you. Scan the QR code. Tell them what to do next because sometimes if people are just looking like, oh, that is a cute video, but they don't even know that you're enrolling, right? Like it's like now enrolling, click here. Make it easy for people to do the next step. And then the last thing, 24-hour follow-up funnel. A lot of times family choose the program that responds first. They may have gone to 3 programs, they're looking, the other people didn't even call, but the first one called back and they said, "Hey, I noticed you were inquiring, would you like to schedule a tour?" They came in. Now they have an opportunity to wow them. They may not even be better than your program. But because you didn't contact them, you know, we lost the opportunity. So think about what your current response time is to a new inquiry. Okay. For a long time, I didn't even know how to. We got a new phone system. I didn't even know how to check the voicemails. I was like, what is happening? um, as we start to wrap up for this evening, we're doing good. Okay, yep. Um, there's expense leaks and then there's income sources. We have to be able to measure and calculate our data, right? Remember, we're CEOs. And CEOs, they calculate their numbers, they know their numbers, they read their data, and they do something about it. Okay. So just understand what your expenses are, how much they take up of your money, right? I like to know the percentage of the expense percentage of payroll, what's the percentage of the expense for rent, food, all of that stuff. And so here I gave you a couple of examples typically of what that percentage is. Okay. For payroll and overtime, typically about 65 to 75% of revenue. Rent, mortgage, average 12 to 18%. Again, it may vary. It may vary by state. These are just examples. We do have federal and state funding. They give us kind of like these frame kind of like a, oh my goodness, an average of what the percentage of these expenses should be. And so, I just kind of looked at that and industry standard just to give you these numbers. It's just an example. Food, supplies, curriculum, an average of 8 to 12% of your revenue. Marketing and enrollment, 3 to 5%. Insurance compliance, 2 to 4%. Okay. Of course, this doesn't capture everything. Again, if you don't have a budget sheet and you want one, just put it in the chat. We'll get you a copy. Income sources, here's a couple of examples. We know private tuition, subsidy payments, grants, and public funding. Don't forget about those. We're leaving money on the table when we don't get them. Premium services. Do you have a music major teacher? And maybe that's just something that they can add on to the program. Whatever. Maybe that's a huge part of what your program does. Some have Montessori, some are music based, some are Spanish immersion. Something that sets you apart. Food program reimbursements. CACFP is a game changer. It is not necessarily extra money, but it covers a lot of our expenses, payroll, food costs, all of that, and we get reimbursed for it. So that's another way to bring in more money, reduce expenses, and it helps us have a profit. Fundraising and events. Okay. These are things to think about as you are running your business. So I'm not going to ask you to put it in there, but if you don't know it now, go back and double check just to say, you know what is the percentage of revenue is my payroll? What's that percentage? Just so you know. And are you comfortable with that number? Do you want to reduce it? Do you have space to increase in case you have someone who comes and they have a degree or a lot of experience and you want to level up your program? Maybe you have a little space to pay them a little more to bring them in because it may be a great return on your investment. And now, who knows, right? You might have a specialized pre-K class. What I'm telling you, it's so many ways to be strategic, okay? All right, we are winding up. I was supposed to tell you at the beginning. I usually do this on day three. But if there is anyone who already at this point, you're like, I need to know more. Like, I want to have community. I want to be able to stay in connection. If you are enjoying what we're doing so far and you want to do something like this every month, I don't do the challenges all the time. I do them 3 times a year, sometimes per quarter. But I just started a new membership program. And I did the membership program because I realized there's so much to have conversations about in childcare, right? Only touched the surface today, only shared high level stuff. But sometimes we don't have spaces to talk about what's going on in my business. So I do have an inner circle program. It is higher touch, it is more on the higher end. And so everyone can't be a part of it. But I love community. I love to have a space where, again, we come together. We're all from different states, and we have a space where we can connect, we can learn, I'm going to have monthly master classes where we dig deep into a childcare topic. A community of childcare CEOs. I have my own portal that everyone will have access to. I'm actually including my 6 step signature program that I ran for 2 years, and that was a $3,700 program. It's going to be in the membership. There's accountability. I have a full library of toolkit and templates that I'm going to offer. And every quarter, I'm going to invite some of my expert friends to just come and be a guest. And so that includes like CPAs, attorneys, marketing specialists, all of that. And so I want to be able to share that tonight. I am going to talk more about it tomorrow, but tonight, I wanted to not only offer this to you, but also I have a bonus for anyone who's like, I'm joining tonight. So let me tell you about the difference now than what it will be going forward. I believe in setting the foundation with strong members. And so I want to do founding members because you guys will be the first. It's just starting next week. It's brand new. And so I'm like, I want to make sure that I have a great group of childcare owners who are my first group. And so what I'm doing is for the first year, basically, you have 2 options. The If you want to pay in full, you are a lifetime member. That means you'll pay the 1997 and you don't pay again. You are basically one of my founding members. Or if you're like, I can't do the 1997 straight out, 197 per month for 1 year, and you are a lifetime member. That will not stay that way because memberships are ongoing. So they will end up being month by month. But I'm doing this for my first group, my founding members, to just be a part of the beginning, and then we'll grow it from there. And so, what I'm going to do for those who are like, I'm in, I want to join, I have a planning session that I'm doing with my inner circle. The inner circle, I don't invite people to inner circle because they are a separate group. We're doing a planning session, a goal planning session. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of EOS, but that literally is how I grew my business. Because every year we meet for 2 whole days, we plan out our business for the next 3 years. We create an annual goal, and then we have quarterly goals. And my calendar and how I run my business is goal focused. And so when I was in my inner circle meeting, that what was happening was they were struggling to stay focused and to really move the business forward. And so what I'm going to do, June 30th, I'm having a planning session. I'm going to invite you to that. And for anyone who joins with the 1997, you're going to get a free ticket to the experience event, which is my in-person event in July. So I wanted to offer that to you. If you are interested, I also can have a little Q&A at the end. I do not want you to be stuck out here trying to figure it out on your own. This is a really affordable option, and I do give value. Trust me, I give a lot of value. So um, that is basically how you can just continue to have stuff like this. All right. I'll check the chat in one moment. This is stuff. Okay. Yes. So if you know you need structure, if you know you need accountability, and if you're tired of carrying it all alone, that's what this is for. And I call it the CEO table because basically I want each of you to have a seat at the table. We're all CEOs and we're going to get it done. So I just share with you what the fast action bonus is. The session June 30th is called From Intention to Implementation because we have ideas, but we don't know how to implement it. So I'm literally going to teach you that. It's a 3-hour session and we're going to jump in and get it done. Okay. You'll get the recording and everything. It's really, really good. It's really good. Okay. All right. Before I do some Q&A, in case you have questions about the membership, and let me check the chat. Let me see. I'm assuming the link was dropped. Okay, perfect. All right. Um, so tonight, what's tonight's homework? I'm telling you, homework is important. You have to get it done. That's how you make the changes in your business. Make sure, so we don't have the VIP have the calculator. So what I want to make sure that you do is calculate all three of your leaks. Make sure that you understand how much money you're losing in enrollment, not collecting all of your money, and see if you're underpriced. And then post in the Facebook group one change you're going to make in regards to your revenue process. All right. And I'd like to know what your number one leak type is. These are the type of things we need to identify to shift in our business. Okay. So that is our homework. I always give you guys a free gift. Oh, let me get that link. Let me get the link to share with you guys for staying until the end. We'll get you the Adrian. Can you get the link for the Iron Triangle worksheet? Oh, I don't know if you did already. Okay. We'll drop the link for this toolkit. Okay. All right. Any questions before we go? Because the what's the name will not stay. Any questions about the membership? Oh, let me see. Yes, yes, that's it. Oh, let me stop sharing my screen. Any questions? Here we go. That's the resource. Thank you. You guys were extremely. You're welcome, Dorothy. No, let me see who's all on here. Uh, which the day two the free resources link. Dr. Marilyn, you said you don't. What link don't we have in here? Which link? Oh, I don't even think we dropped the membership link. Mm-mm-mm-mm. If anyone has a question, because we're at the end, you can unmute if you like and just jump in with any questions because we're going to get ready to. We've been doing good with timing. I've been working hard on that to not overdo it. Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yep. Oh, and I forgot to say, even the pay in full one, if you wanted those bonus ones, there is a payment plan. If you're like, I want to do the 1997, maybe not all at one, you can break it up, or you can do the $197 per month. All right. That link is in there. It's called the Childcare CEO table. Just remember the bonus for the June 30th session and the free experience ticket is only good for today. That's our fast action bonus, and I like to make sure that I provide bonuses for people who are like, I'm going to make it happen. Okay. All right. No other questions. Is it? Are you guys tired on the Thursday? Y'all are quiet. No, nothing. All right. I will wrap up. Okay. All right. I appreciate you for coming. This is day 2. Tomorrow we wrap up. We do our 90-day plan. We pull all the things together. Don't forget, go in to the Facebook group, share so that we can understand that you have your numbers and you know exactly what to do. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Have a good night. Have a good night.